Hey guys, it's Daniel, and today I'm going to be chatting about how to smash MMI interviews. So interviews can seem like a daunting task. You've already gone through the process of applying, doing your whole personal statement, and now you've got to go through another process again for these medical schools who are coming to try and get you in and see if you're good enough or not good enough. Most medical schools do MMI interviews, which are basically where you have a few stations, somewhere between 5 and 7 stations, where they ask you a question, or they might give you a scenario, or you might do a role play, and I'll get into some examples later. And essentially those last around 5 minutes, 5 to 10 is what I sort of experienced. I'm not sure how it works now. Of course, I've seen that interviews are now online on Zoom, so it might be a bit shorter, it might be a bit longer, and the whole formatting is different. So before I get into the specifics, I have 3 tips, and they're the 3 P's: prepare, compose, and patience. So number 1, prepare. So if you're lucky enough to get an interview offer from a medical school, they will likely send you some information about how it's going to go down, what to expect, and they might even send you a video on an example of an interview station. I know that Brighton Medical School did that, for example. So make sure you read through and watch everything there. Make sure you get the basics down so that you know exactly how it's going to go down for you when the interview starts. I'd also say read up on a few topics that are in medicine right now. So what's a controversial thing, a treatment that got rejected maybe, or a thing that's gone to court that's medical, maybe a case with a child or something like that, or a new legislation that has changed recently, and if they ask you a question about that, you can easily bring it in, or if the question allows it in a station, you can bring that in and show that you've actually done some research on the topic of medicine. And included in that is also looking up things about the NHS, like the values in the NHS, things like MDTs and all of that. Just get a bit of a wider knowledge. You don't have to go too in depth, you just need to know a few things on the surface of the NHS. I know a classic one, which is the 6 C's, which are the NHS values. And I'm in third year medicine now, I don't know what those are, but I'm gonna read them off for you now. When the 6 C's were introduced, they were care, compassion, competence, communication, courage, and commitment. And you know, if you want to go that extra mile, why don't you find a story of yours which you can associate to one of those, and then just make it good. And yeah, make sure you have stories of times like, describe a time you had to work as a leader or something like that. If you don't have a story, just fake it till you make it. And when it comes to preparing with questions, just make sure you go through some things with your friends, go through questions online, go through books that might have sort of MMI style questions. Even some sort of interview style questions could be good. I've got the specifics coming up. If you want to skip to that point in the video, it's right here. But moving on to the second point, compose. So obviously, if you're interviewing in 2020 or /2021 to enter in 2021 medical school, you're most likely going to be doing your interview on Zoom. So make sure your laptop's ready, make sure it's plugged in, man, so you're not faffing about if that notification comes up like your battery's dying. Nah, keep it plugged in, keep it fully charged up, make sure that your internet's all good, make sure you're in a quiet place, just make sure everything is okay, and everything that could go wrong, make sure that if you can control it, make sure it doesn't go wrong. And then for more composure, get into the right frame of mind. Know that this interview is not the be all and end all, and just make sure you relax yourself. It can be hard to keep relaxed, of course, in an interview that seems like it could determine your entire future, but you just have to focus on the bigger picture and make sure that you're not too nervous to be able to do a good job at the interview. And in that same frame of mind, take it slow, don't rush too much. When people get nervous, I myself do it, I start talking faster. A lot of people start talking faster, but just slow yourself down, just let it flow, just make sure the examiner really knows what you're about so they can mark you correctly. And last one, make sure to smile, because on a call or even in an interview anyway, a smile is always a good thing. It shows that you're happy to be there, you know what you want, and this is a good day for you. And number 3 is patience. I remember when I first was waiting to get medical school offers, I was literally checking my emails every day, maybe like 3 times a day, even though I have my emails synced to my phone so that as soon as I get one, it comes up as a notification. I was still on it, just checking frantically. And I remember the first day that I got an offer at Exeter, and I was gassed. It was in the middle of like a biology lesson, and I was sitting there like, I've just got this now. I have something to work for. So you just have to sit back and be patient. Some people get interviews quicker than others. That doesn't really mean anything in the long run. It might just mean that in their interview set, they seem to stick out more. But at the end of the day, an offer is an offer. And speaking of an offer is an offer, if you don't manage to get any offers from your interviews, don't feel discouraged. If this is really what you're into, you can just keep going. Whether that means working your heart out so that you can prove to those medical schools you can get those grades on results day, and so go through clearing to get into medicine, or maybe do another degree and go into postgrad, it'll all work out. This is just a small blip in the whole story of medicine. Alright, so now for some specifics. So when I was first doing my medical interviews, like 3 years ago now, I made sure to write down the questions so that, because Exeter was my first interview, and at that point, I think I didn't have a single other interview until Exeter, and then the day after Exeter, I got an interview for Brighton, and then after Brighton, I got an interview for Newcastle. See, they come through weirdly as well. Exeter was in December, Brighton was the end of December, and Newcastle was in February. So don't worry about the timing. But I made sure to write down specifics so that if I ever needed to go over them again just to see what medical schools were doing, or if I needed to help someone in the future, I'd have it written down. So these are some generic questions you might stumble across in an interview. The first one is why medicine? That could be as in, why did you pick the course in general, or why do you choose medicine and not something like nursing? Like, why do you want to be a doctor, not a nurse? And the answer is not because doctors do more. That's not the answer. Just make sure you have a grounded answer of why you don't want to be a nurse and you want to be a doctor. If there's a passion there, go for it. Everyone loves the story of, since from when I was 5 years old, someone I knew spent some time in the hospital, and I was like, wow, I could really see myself doing it. Man, it's overplayed. If it's your story, fair play. But if you can think of something better, do that. So at Exeter, I had to do a role play on a mentally ill person, and it was essentially just how to treat them and how to react to what they were saying to you. So just show yourself. Be yourself, show your compassion, show your kindness, show how you would actually act with that person, and that should all go well. There was another situation which we were given, which was like, there was a boy on a bus sharing patient information. That's a classic as well. Literally, all you got to do is say that you talk to the person, be like, why are you doing this? And if they keep doing it, you report them. That's classic. That's just straight up easy. And then a classic interview question in general is just strengths and weaknesses. So name something that's gone well for you in the past, name something that's gone badly in the past, and how you've reacted to both. And yeah, make sure your weaknesses aren't detrimental. Like, I killed someone, but it's fine because I posted bail and I'm out here now. Obviously, they probably wouldn't let you be a doctor after that. But yeah, just make sure you have something that is a weakness which you can flip. Something like, oh, I used to be bad at keeping time, but now I've decided to get 100% attendance this year. I don't know. That's something easy. And then there's like problem solving. So how would you solve this specific problem? At Newcastle, they asked me that question in the sense of a role play. So there was another one of the students who had some work to do, and they wanted to go out, and I was on my way to my friend's birthday party or whatever, and they were like, oh, could you really help me with this assignment? It'll only take like 10 minutes. And that was the whole scenario. Like, what do you do in that situation? Do you go, no, screw you, I'm on my way to something else. This is the motive of the year. I've been waiting since before coronavirus started for this party. Or do you go, yeah, let me help you out? On my list for MMIs from Exeter is, how do you help someone who's stressed, or how do you help yourself in stress? How do you deal with stress? Because obviously it can be stressful to be a doctor And a lot of people find it stressful in medical school as well. So even before you get to the workplace, how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to stay committed, basically? Sort of a commitment question. And I feel like these MMIs are sort of testing the 6 C's of the NHS. So that's why I say, if you learn those 6 C's and maybe attach a small story to each one of them, you'll be totally fine. Oh yes, so teamwork is another big one. How to fix mistakes, and literally the answer is just apologize to the person who's in charge, rectify the mistake, and reflect. There's ethics of transplantation, so they'll be like, there's this person who needs a transplant. Like, let's say it's like, there's this mother of 2 who's 40 years old and she's got a congenital disease that means that her liver has now stopped working at 40 years old. Or there's this 35-year-old alcoholic who desperately needs a liver. Who are you giving that liver to? That's like an ethics question. Like, oh, do we give it to the mother because that, and then do we give it to we could give it to the alcoholic if they stop drinking, stuff like that. Just know your ethics on transplantation as well. That's also a hot topic. So I had 3 interviews, Exeter, Brighton and Newcastle. So the Exeter one was the first one on my birthday about 3 years ago now, and pretty straightforward. I didn't really know how to prepare for interviews at that point. There was like a medical school society at my school where they sort of did some questions. I have a family friend who also helped me through some things. So just make sure you ask people who you know who have applied to medicine, who are doctors maybe, who can help you with interview techniques as well. And yeah, so I went to that Exeter interview. I was feeling a bit out of there. Like, I remember this one guy turned up. He was like, so I hear that everyone needs to be predicted all A stars to get an interview here. I was sitting there with like AAA on my predicted grades. I was like, yeah, I'm predicted AAA star too. But yeah, you get people like that. Sometimes fake it till you make it. At the end of the day, that guy was 100% capping. I've never seen that guy since. Then I went to Brighton. I thought I was a big man, so I didn't really prepare for Brighton. Brighton's interview was like December 28th, December 30th, so I'm coming off of Christmas. I thought, yeah, it's totally fine, I can just read up on the next day. Then Brighton asked me the most specific questions in an MMI interview. They were like, I like brushed the 6 C's of the NHS and I knew them all. But then they were like, so what do you think about like compassion? Like, how do you show compassion in the NHS? And I was like, excuse me, sir? And I knew before the interview was done, I knew Brighton's not getting back to me. Like, they won't even send me. I think they had messaged me before I even had my Newcastle interview. They were like, yeah, sorry, bro, it's not gonna work out. In those exact words as well. And then Newcastle. So I went to Newcastle in February. It was a long trip, like a 5-hour train journey. No, it wasn't that long. It was like a 3-hour train journey. Newcastle is actually a good looking city, I can't lie. But yeah, went there. It was pretty cool. I thought the interview went pretty well. Didn't get an offer from Newcastle, so I only ended up getting an offer from Exeter. And I was like, I've got to work hard because this is it. Like, at that point, I was like, cool. I was kind of going with the flow, so I was a bit like, this is it. I'm working hard for this, and I'm going to try and do this. And I'm here now, so it's all good. Like I said, if you don't get it the first time, try again. Keep going, because if this is your dream, it's working out. If you put in the work, it's working out. So, thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up. And if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. I'm actually trying to be consistent. Weekly uploads. If I can get a video for next week, that is. And yeah, if you have anything else you want to know, any questions, leave them down in the comment section below and I will get back to you. And until then, I'll talk to you in the next video.